Okay, we're almost ready to start. No, don't leave your site. Okay, good evening. It's Ruben Ibrahimov, and I'm speaking to you from the Haftorah Man Library. And tonight, I'm going to give a class on Sefer Tehillim, on the book of Psalms. And this is the most popular book from the Bible. And tonight, I wanted to read the chapter on 91, Perek Tzadik Aleph. If you have a copy of the book called From Your Lips to God's Ears, it's going to be on page 341. If you don't have a copy, I highly recommend you let me send you a copy just to look at it. If anybody who sees the book is so impressed with it, you should really have a copy. And I'm not trying to sell books, but I think everybody should not only have a copy for themselves, but anybody who gets the book gives them as gifts to other people. It's such a wonderful book. You don't need to speak Hebrew. It's just great. So that's that. You want to get it from Amazon, you can get it from Amazon. So this is really amazing. So now, let's talk about the chapter right now. It is on page 341, and believe it or not, you say this on Shabbat. It's in the prayer book. On the Sabbath, it's in the Sabbath special Psalms, that 50 out of the Psalms, 150 chapters, 50 of them made it into the prayer book, complete chapters. Can you imagine a full 1/3? So if you know Psalms, if you know Tehillim, well then you'll know a lot of what's going on in the prayer book. It's really amazing. So here, I'm thinking that we should dive right into it. So Perek Tzadik Aleph, 91. Guess who wrote this? So the fast answer would be, oh, King David wrote this. No. It turns out that not only did King David write half of the Psalms of the Tehillim, but also there are 9 other authors. And one of them is Moshe, Moses. You know, Moses? So yeah. So how do you know that Moses wrote them? Any of them? Well, if you look at the preceding chapter that we did this morning, you'll see it says, Tefillah Moshe ish ha'Elohim, a prayer of Moses, the man of God. Pretty amazing. So it says in the introduction to the biography of the men and women that, well, no women wrote Tehillim, but we'll see about the 9 other men, and one of them was Moses. And everybody goes, holy Moses, okay, but what made him so holy? Let's see. The Jewish leader chosen by God, this is Moses' biography, to lead the Jewish nation out of Egypt and to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. Moses is considered Israel's greatest prophet and the most humble man of all time. Both descriptions being spelled out in the Torah text itself. Moses was the leader and advocate of the Jewish people when they were established as a nation, leading them through 40 years in the Sinai desert. So this is an amazing, amazing, amazing thing, that Moses was known as the most humble man of all time. So I want to tell you something. Hi, Carol Levin. I love you, Carol Levin. Thank you for watching. So here's the lesson I learned this year. Because I grew up yeshiva boy. Moses was the most humble. So what do you think? He walks around, I'm modest. No. Let's picture this. Moses is in the desert. He led all these people out of Egypt. And there were some cranky people there. Can you imagine? So here, by the way, this is being live broadcast globally on Facebook Live, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. So this is an amazing, amazing night to be able to teach Torah to as many people as we can. So you should forward this to your friends and family if you like what you're hearing. Thank you, Carol Evan. We'll see you soon. So here's why I feel so excited to share this bit with you. So somebody walks up to Moses, they're in the desert, and the guy's saying, you, I used to have it good. Yeah, I know. I was a slave in Egypt and I worked hard, but still, I liked it better than wandering in the desert, not knowing manna from heaven. Is that all I get to look forward to? And I'm wandering. It's enough already. I don't like this life. And it's your fault, Moses. And do you think for a second he pulled rank on anybody, Moses? Because you know what he could have said? Look up over there, Mount Sinai. Guess who was there? Me. I was on Mount Sinai with God for 40 days. How dare you talk to me that way? No, he didn't do that. That would have been ego. That wouldn't have been modest. So now, what does Moses say? He takes himself off of the proverbial pedestal, and he takes this individual that was complaining and stands him on the pedestal. And he said to the guy, you are important to me. Do you know what it took for you to walk up to me? I'm the leader of the Jewish nation that I was appointed by God to take the Jews out of Egypt and bring them to the promised land. You came up to me because you felt very strongly about what happened to you and what is happening. And guess what? I heard what you had to say. And it pains me that this is the life you're leading. I'm sure you're not the only one. It's not an isolated case. So the humility came from empathizing and from making the other person feel that they were important. Come back to it again. Somebody who had an ego, somebody that was being attacked, could have had a narcissistic outburst. And he could have said to them, you know something? Don't talk to me that way. It was the opposite. He said, I'm going to help you. This is Moses' humility. I'm going to do whatever I can to improve the quality of your life. How many times do people say things to me to others that are hurtful. It's their opinion. Or they may be upset about something else. They may complain to us because they think they can vent. We have to develop a discipline where you have this protective emotional shield around you. So if somebody shoots their mouth off or attacks you, you don't have like incoming. You gotta slow it down. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I would imagine over time you practice this, that other people can't get to you and they can't zug you and get you to get upset. Because once you get upset, you lose. You got to stay calm. Moses knew you got to stay calm. There's a few times he lost it, but most of the time he stayed calm. He stayed cool. And that was the key thing, is that someone else, Mr. Shlomo Musayev, explained to me how the mind of the prophet and the interactions. And he said just that when a prophet, when a Navi, when Moses would talk with other people, he would disappear his ego. Yes, I'm repeating myself. For me, not for everybody else only. He would disappear the ego, and he would take the person he was with and lift them up and made them feel important. And he would speak to them on their level. It's interesting. Yesterday, I was in the Persian shul in Great Neck, and somebody had made arrangements for me to introduce the Haftarah in the Persian shul where it all started. And somebody came over to me right before I got to speak, and he started to tell me, I'm afraid you shouldn't speak because you speak over people's heads. You're too intelligent. You're too intellectual. I said, buddy, I don't know about you. I'm giving you all I got. I just want to be entertaining, informative, and interesting. And that's the same way. Moses wasn't trying to show how smart he was, wasn't to be so brilliant. That's not the way it goes. It goes that you should relate to somebody on their level and make them feel important, but genuinely and sincerely, that these people are good enough. Great pain is harbored by most people, many people, some people, I can't quantify it. There are people walking around being left with not being important enough for their mother to treat them, their father, their family, their siblings. And a lot of that then constrains the way that they behave. And this is something where people, if they're lucky enough to get in touch with that trauma, that they could become aware of it. So Moses realized the power that he wielded, that he would be so careful that there were never exchanges and interactions with other people that would hurt their feelings. So that's a little bit about who Moses was. Now, we'll go back to chapter 91. And it starts with Yoshev Beseter Elyon Betzel Shaddai Yislonon. It does not have Moses' name. However, we know that the previous chapter, Tefillah Moshe, a prayer by Moses, and the 10 following ones, a total of 11 chapters, Moses wrote them. Now remember, Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus, was in the year 2448 from the time of creation. 40 years in the desert. 2488 is when they came out of the desert. And this is when Moses presumably wrote these Psalms. King David lived in 2900 something, so it's like 500 years later that they're saying these prayers and carrying them along with them. When and why did Moses write this chapter? He wrote this prophetically about the difficulty that Israel will face, not only when they get to the land of Israel, but they're going to leave the land of Israel temporarily. In it, he tells the Israelites to remain faithful, that the ultimate redemption will eventually arrive. It is so important that you have something to look forward to. The three fundamental drives of a human being, the primordial, is, am I going to survive? If I fall in the lake, am I going to swim to the top? Number two, do I stay connected to other people? Or am I isolated by myself? It wasn't safe back in the day. So now you have the third one. What's my destiny? What's going to happen to me? So Moses would tell the Jewish people, I could see the future as clearly as you could remember the past. I could even explain why things happen to you. So this is what Moses was doing. He was preparing the Jewish people for their destiny. This chapter is a psalm of individual confidence. This morning, the previous one, was of communal lament. This now is a psalm of an individual's confidence, and the worshiper expresses absolute certainty that his prayers will be heard. Thank God. The summary of the chapter. Stay with me, everybody. We're on page 341, and we're doing the introduction to chapter 91, which is in the Siddur on Shabbat, which is in the prayer book on the Sabbath. It says here, Moses describes here the excellence of a tzaddik, the righteous person, who trusts in God. He further depicts 4 levels of cleaving to God and of the divine supervision of this world. Moses speaks out against the plagues. Let's see how that figures in. And concludes with offering a song of thanksgiving. A Thanksgiving song. I can't wait. Okay, now let's see how this breaks out. You have 2 parts to this chapter. It's 16 verses long. 1 through 8, the author proclaims that God will protect the one who trusts in him. So there's a symbiotic relationship between a man and woman having a monotheistic God that they have faith in. And God says, have no fear. I'm here. You're going to be okay. And according to such an individual has no need to fear the darkness, the real physical darkness and spiritual darkness. He asserts too that God will destroy the wicked. Don't want to be a bad boy. Now, let's look at this chapter. I have written over here in the Siddur and also said before the funeral begins. I remember saying that in the Hampton Synagogue for Itchy and Helen. I was sitting there in front of 2 caskets in the Hampton Synagogue, and I said, Yoshev b'seiter elyon b'tzel Shaddai yislonon. Yoshev, the one who sits, who dwells, b'seiter elyon, in the shelter of the Supreme One, God's protection. B'tzel Shaddai yislonon, under the protection of Shaddai. Shaddai is a holy name, unspeakable name of God, but I said it. He will abide. Pasuk Bet. Omar la Adonai. I say to Adonai, Machsi umitsudasi. He is my refuge and my stronghold. God, Elohai eftach bo, my God in whom I trust. Pasuk Gimel 3. Kihu yaltzilcha mipach yakush, for he will save you from the snare trap. Amazing visualization. Midever havos, from the destructive pestilence. Dever was one of the 10 plagues. And this is also the verse of the Shimush Tehillim, of the usages of Tehillim, that you say this to ward off evil spirits or to alleviate fear. I could use a little bit of that. He will save you from the snare trap that your enemies are going to try to, from the destructive pestilence. Be'evraso yosech lach, with his wings he will cover you. Moshe wrote this. Can you imagine the spiritual depth of his understanding about how God has mercy, and he has either mercy directly on us, or sometimes think to yourselves that you were once slid in God's mercy beam, and you were his angel, his agent, his delivering mercy to somebody else. None of us would survive if we were just pure din, justice, justice, justice. And you get what you give. You give rachamim, you give mercy, other people will be merciful with you. Look at what the Torah teaches. Look at these principles that you and I say, yeah, what's the big deal? I don't need anybody to tell me this. Guess what? When this was written, this was not the way of the common man. They were ruthless. They were out for themselves. Judaism is the number one system in the world. I'm not excluding anybody, monotheists, Christians, Muslims. I'm not getting into the minutia. What I'm saying is that there are principles of coexistence and collaboration when you know that you were created by the Supreme Being, that you have a soul that is connected to that Supreme Being, and that therefore you are connected with each and every other person on the planet. And let me tell you something. Up to a very short while ago, you could look at people. They're black, I'm white, I'm this, I'm that. He's smart, he's on, he's rich, he's poor. Everybody could be subclassified and subdivided until the virus. And the virus had a common denominator on every single human being on planet Earth. We are all on a planet that we all have something in common. That changes from a divisiveness to inclusiveness. We're all in the same boat together. We all have to cooperate. We all have to be kind to each other. This is what's going to get us through these days. Cannot be selfish. Let's continue. V'tachat kenafav techseh, and beneath his wings you will find refuge. His truth, sina v'sochera amito. His truth, the truth is a shield, a full shield. Hey, Pasuk Hey, if you're following along, we're on page 342 of From Your Lips to God's Ears. And we're looking at Pasuk Hey 5. Lo sirami pachad laila. You will not fear the terror of night. Mechetz ya'uf yomam. Nor the arrow, the chetz, the arrow that flies by day. So you don't have fear at night because of the dark, and you don't have fear during the day because nobody is firing at you. Vav 6. Midever ba'ofel yahaloch. The pestilence that prowls in the darkness. Miketev yoshud saharayim. Nor the deadly plague that ravages at noon. So here you have the structural parallelism of the Tehillim, of the book of Psalms, where it starts off the pestilence in the dark and the plague in the noon, in the day. Yipol mitzidcha elef, 1,000 will fall at your left side, urivava miyiminecha, and 10,000 on your right side. Elecha lo yigash, but it shall not come near you. Can you imagine? Right over there, calamity. Right over there, catastrophe. Right here, shalom, peace. Chet 8. Rak be'enecha tabit. Only with your eyes shall you behold. Veshilumat risha'im tir'eh, and see the punishment of the wicked. Wow, very, very intense and visceral words. We now go to the second part of the chapter, from 9 through 16. He declares that God will send his angels to guard the tzaddik on his path, one who believes in the Lord's protection. Moses assures the reader that they will be awarded with long days and seeing true salvation. Tet, ki ata Adonai machsi elyon samta meonecha. For you have proclaimed, Adonai is my refuge, the Supreme One, and you have made your dwelling. Lo te'una elecha ra'ah, no evil shall befall you. V'nega lo yikrav ba'ohalecha, and no plague shall come near your tent. Protection again. This pasuk, you say Friday nights. If you're making the Shabbat meal Friday nights, I remember my father, Nick Abraimov, would say, Ki mal'achav yitzaveh loch lishmor cha b'chol derachecha. For his angels, his malachim, they will command on your behalf to guard you in all your ways. Protection from not only God, but also his angels. Al kapayim yisuncha, they will carry you upon their hands. Pendigof be'even raglecha, and lest you hurt your foot on a rock. Don't worry. Al shachal v'fesen tirdof, you will tread upon lion and snake. Is that going to come out to hurt you? No. Tirmos kefir v'sanin, you will trample the young lion and the serpent. Look at the poetry. Lion, snake, young lion, serpent. That was Yud Gimel 13. Let's go. 3 more psukim. Ki vi choshak, because he clings to me with desire. Ve'afaltehu, and I will save him. Asagvehu ki yoda shemi, I will strengthen him, for he knows my name. Can you imagine? I'm 61 years old. I must be saying this for 40, 50 years even. You slow it down and you learn word by word. And then the next time you say it, zooming in the prayer time, at least you understand the little trigger words in the chapter. You'll be better off. Asagvehu ki yada shemi. I will strengthen him, for he knows my name. God knows me on the first name basis. Yikraeni ve'enehu. When God calls upon me, I will answer him. Amo anochi vitzara. I am with him in distress. Achaltseyu ve'achadeu. I will free him. Moshe, with the Jews that were freed from Egypt, writes, I will free him and honor him. Orechamimaspieyu, I will satiate him with longevity. Ve'arebi Yeshuasi, ve'arehu Yeshuasi. I will let him see my deliverance. See, this is a psalm of individual confidence. You say this, you feel, hey, I'm connected to God. God is protecting me. And you say this, you will see that you will feel confident to go through your day, that you have some sense of creator, created, and protected. We said that this is in the Shabbat morning prayers that we say. And some people say this chapter at night, and I mentioned also that the burial ceremony. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful class. I got to teach it, which means I got to learn it much better. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. If you don't have at least 50 copies to give out to your friends, just get in touch with me. I'll be happy to send them to you. It's an amazing gift. You will see. I bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you for listening. Like me so you can also know when I go online again. This has been great. I thank you again. It's a big, big deal to learn this chapter because it'll reside with you that God is always looking after us. Have no fear. God is always here. Thank you. Good evening.